it speaks to us. You actually consume things in different ways. We focus sometimes on our nutritional consumption because it is believed that it helps feed our bodies by being as nutritional as possible. But we also consume through our ears. And if you find yourself constantly in a place of having a junk food diet on hearing things that are not productive, then it is not going to nutritionally feed your soul. And so today we had a real filled with that song. That was some serious broccoli and kale. I am immersed in a book called The Outliers. You haven't read Dr. Malcolm Gladwell's book. He's just an unbelievable author, and he talks about in this book how there are those indirect or those things that we're not aware of that contribute to the shaping of who we are. People talk about, Eric Adams being, a former police captain, a former state senator, the first African-American borough president as we study Black History Month. But if you dig deep into the arc of my existence, you realize that the opportunity of me getting here in this beautiful building is not because of who I am, but because of who were before me and laid out. And one story in particular, as we talk about this clergy breakfast, happened when I was a child. I was a young man that grew up in South Jamaica, Queens. We had a little small house on 167th Street and 111th Avenue. And we used to go to church every Sunday, a small storefront church. We called it a cheers church. Everyone knew your name, and everyone was glad you came. It wasn't a mega church. And you would go during the morning, and you would go home, and you would eat, and then you would come back at night. And in between the time you were home, you will have a meal. But we were not fortunate enough to do that. Mommy was trying to raise 6 children. And I always say to whoever will listen, I'm a self-appointed mama's boy. And she has 6 children. She loved them all, but she adored me. I was just her baby. And so we would often come home, and all we would do was sing during that gap. And she would scrape together something to allow us to just not have to go back to the evening service without our bellies being full. She did the best she could with what she had. And one evening, after the evening service, we pulled up to our house, and there was a car caravan of women that unloaded groceries in our home. And they put it on the countertop, and late that night I was so happy that we were going to have cornflakes with real milk and eggs. And I went downstairs and I opened the boxes, and they were all open. Half a box of spaghetti, half a jar of mayonnaise. They couldn't afford to buy us groceries. They gave us half of what they had.
Praise God.
They all contributed and they all chipped in. Because they knew that Dorothy and those 6 children were going through difficult times. And they didn't ignore it. They didn't pretend as though it didn't exist. They stated that it was more about reading. It was about believing.
Amen.
And it was the accumulation of story after story. It was the accumulation of coming home days and finding a pair of shoes for each one of us on our doorstep with no one taking credit. It was just slipping money under mother's door from time to time. It was just doing those little things to say, Eric, Dorothy, we're going to get your children and your families through week after week after week until they become of age where they can stand on their own. And so when we talk about Black history, yes, I know about Dr. King. I know about A. Philip Randolph and Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth. I know about all of them. But the real history for me were those men and women that one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 year at a time contribute to the historical moment of having an African-American born president because they were there and they existed. And we sometimes forget that. And so when we worship on Sunday of how great God is, and then on Monday say we can't have a homeless shelter on our block, there's something that is wrong about that. I believe, and I may be wrong, but I believe that if Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John was here, they would be with the homeless. That's what I believe.
True, yeah.
I believe that we have become so self-centered that in a place like Brooklyn, where we have more mosques, more synagogues, more churches, we have even an equal amount of suffering. And we look towards government to handle the job of what God-fearing people are supposed to do. And so the real movement I feel we need in this city is not to be caught up on the rhetoric on a national level, because I'm not worried about Donald Trump. I'm worried about who are we going to be at the end of these years of this presidency. How evil have we become? Families no longer can sit down and engage with each other. They can't have decent conversation. We've turned Twitter and Instagram and Facebook into a weapon that we've sharpened, and we have pointed and hurt and destroyed each other. There's a meanness and evilness in this country where we no longer even can sit down and communicate with each other, and that has to stop. That has to stop.
Yes, amen.
Just being civil, just having a civil conversation. And I know this sounds impossible, but it's all right to disagree. And communication is not waiting for you to finish a sentence so I can say how wrong you are.
No,
It
right?
is seeking to understand so you can be understood.
Yes.
And Brooklyn can lead the way.
Well,
The diversity of this borough, the different cultures, a number I throw around all the time, 47% of Brooklynites speak a language other than English at home. The different foods, the different sounds, the different cultures, the different experiences. All of us can tell the story that I just told. You all have a moment of uncertainty. You all have a moment that you just wondered, how are you going to get by? All of you had that moment when someone other than you was there for you.
yeah.
All of us.
Yes, true. Amen.
And all
So
we can
grateful.
do as we exist
Thank you, Lord.
in this chapter of our history is to make sure that no matter how the chapter starts out, it can conclude with a happy ending. Not only a happy ending for ourselves, but the person who's wondering, who's going to be for them the way they were there for my family. That is the reason we hold this clergy breakfast every year. Because it's a reminder that we have a job to do in the year to come. And I want to thank Pastor Morose. I want to thank all of you as we engage around the census, as we engage around housing, as we engage around how to open our doors. We started an initiative called Breaking Bread, Building Bonds, 100 dinners across the city, 10 people at a table. Each person at a table comes from a different ethnic and religious and cultural background. fostering a conversation. All of our cultures have a unique way of making bread. And using that opportunity, we underestimate the lubricating value of communication around a meal. And we've held a series of meals, and this idea came from having a round table with some of you in the room, and we move forward to do so. I'm hoping each one of you will host one of these breaking bread and engage with a different person. Hear why someone wears a turban, a kufi, a hijab, a yarmulke. Hear why someone is doing things a different way, and see the beauty of just evolving in this great experience. I no longer focus on destinies. I appreciate the journey.
Amen.
This is the journey. The destiny will take care of itself. There's nothing you can do about the destiny. You can plan a destiny and you won't wake up the next day. Just enjoy the journey. Enjoy the opportunity of what the journey has to offer. And live the fullness of this journey. I love every hour of being a borough resident. Of having an opportunity to sit inside a sukkah, to eat a roti, to enjoy the Caribbean experience, to enjoy the Chinese, the Korean experience, to feel the fullness of the human experience and not be isolated in my own little island and not appreciate the interconnections that we have as human beings and enjoy in this journey. Today, as you close, make sure you reach out and interact with another group, another person. The beauty of healthy discomfort allows you the opportunity to grow and find your full personhood instead of remaining in your own space and your own place. That is what Breaking Bread, Building Bonds is about. We want to build those unique bonds. You cannot hate that which you know, and that which you appreciate. And so those of you who are of the various faith of this borough, we have a job to do. More than a tree grows in Brooklyn. Great people grow in Brooklyn.
Yes.
The way goes Brooklyn goes New York. The way goes New York goes the country. The way goes the country goes the globe. It starts right here in Brooklyn, on Geralman, Bedford Avenue, East New York, Brownsville, all over this borough. We are starting that energy of growing. And in conclusion, we lost 2 babies in the borough in the last 2 days. One a 10-year-old, and my staff just told me we lost a 5 and a 7-year-old to vehicle crash that took the lives of 2 children.
Mercy, Lord.
There's nothing in the human vocabulary that defines the loss of a child.
That's right.
We have a mother or father dies, the child becomes an orphan. A husband or wife lose their spouse, they become a widow or a widower. We do not define the loss of a child in any dictionary that we have because it is so anti-humanistic to lose a baby. Mothers are not supposed to bury their children. Dads are not supposed to bury their children. The natural transition, going from the physical to the spiritual, is for a child to put their parents in the ground. That is the circle of life. So that circle was broken in these last 2 days. Let's put out our call and our prayers to the family, and let's do all that we can possibly do to make our streets safer so our babies can exist. And so as we go on with the program, we should take a moment to reflect on those families and send them our well wishes. But I thank you for allowing us to host this event every year. You make this place a better place by your presence. Thank you.